Welcome to Friday Tech Bites. My name is Karinne Bessette. I'm a technologist here at Veeam Software, and I'm joined by Kirsten Stoner. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirsten. I am a technologist here at Veeam today. Today is my favorite day of the week, Friday. Looking forward to having a nice, hopefully sunny weekend with no snow. I don't know, it's still March. Do you think we're going to get some snow this weekend, Corinne?
I don't know. I'm heading over to Wisconsin this weekend, so I probably have a higher likelihood than you do.
Well, let's hope that we don't get any snow and we get like a 55-degree day.
So we're not going to be able to actually pull up the map today, but we still want to give a shout out where everyone is at. Kirsten and I are both in Ohio, so we can already give a shout out to Ohio. Post wherever you're watching from, where you're from, and we'll go ahead and list those off throughout the show today. We're going to start off. We're going to take a look at what's new with Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. Beyond the name change, of course, because this was Veeam Backup for Microsoft Office 365, but to kind of fall in line with Microsoft's naming convention, we have also adopted that naming convention into our product. This is one of the products that's very near and dear to my heart. It's my specialty here at Veeam. And we're going to start off with a little bit of history going on what has kind of come over the years. And starting with like version 1 to 3 here, we can see there was a lot of integration with applications, getting our RESTful API up as we do with all of our products, and then, of course, adopting those restore explorers. But I think when the really interesting part comes is on the next slide here for versions 4, 5, and 6. So, Kirsten, you've been around with us for a long time, too. Do you remember going through on each of these major releases?
Yeah, definitely. Like every product that Veeam has, we start off slow. We started off supporting Exchange Online and on-premise Exchange, but through events and listening to our customers, specifically remember all of them being like, I want to be able to send my backups to object storage. And so when we really brought that object storage support in version 4, it was really a game changer. I remember going to Microsoft Ignite and everybody saying, hey, like, when are you going to be able to store our Microsoft 365 backups in object storage? So that was a really exciting time to be able to provide that to our customers. And then also, I work a lot in the Spiceworks community as well. So when we brought that Microsoft Teams backup and restore, it was just like all of our customers were like, finally, yes. And they were all really excited to be able to restore Teams channels, tabs, posts, and files for an application that, almost every business uses today. So it's really come a long way, and it's only going to continue to progress and offer more capabilities. So I really like this product too. I think it's really cool. Yeah, what do you think, Corinne?
I also think it's very cool.
Yeah.
So on the next slide here, we can see all of those features that we were just discussing, which have actually happened a lot in the last couple of years. The object storage edition in version 4 we had in 2019. 2020, we added that Teams platform you had just mentioned. And just as of this week, we've launched version 6, which is going to offer the self-service restore portal, as well as backup copy to low-cost object storage. I think this was a long-awaited feature. We've given the ability to end users to be able to restore their own data, as well as restore administrators, and offer the low-cost object storage so that you can kind of tier off your backups, save some costs going to the cloud, as well as giving you more of that 3-2-1 rule. We'll kick it off here with diving a little deeper into the new self-service restoration portal. We'll go ahead and take a look at the next slide here. With the Restore portal, we're not just giving access to the end users to be able to restore their data, but we are also allowing you to configure additional administrators or anyone that is a stakeholder over certain users the ability to do restores on behalf of users. This will restore their data back to the original locations, so you can take some of that load off of your IT department between those two different restoration types. Now, with this, we've actually increased the number of ways that we can restore. We'll take a quick look here at the next slide, which is actually one of my favorite and I think most impactful slides we have for all of the ways that we can restore. So if you see here over time, we had the Exchange Explorer, the OneDrive Explorer, the SharePoint Online, and the Microsoft Teams, which gave us the ability to restore data not just in a raw data format, but in a way that makes sense to the applications that we're restoring back to, which has increased us to over 45 different ways just within the single console to restore. Kirsten, you've seen this one morph over time as well. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, and what's cool about this graphic is that we have this available for Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, but we also have it available for Veeam Backup and Replication as well. And I think that for Veeam BNR right now, I don't know, we might be up to like 60 restore scenarios, right?
At
Well,
least. I think we're actually up, like, was it 145 last one I saw, or 100 and something? Our graphics department has been put to work trying to make these graphics representation of all of the ways that we're able to restore. And we only use 4 of the Restore Explorers. Veeam Backup and Replication has 8, I believe, different Restore Explorers at this time for specific applications on top of their other Restore Explorers for like instant recovery, full virtual machine restores. It's really impressive and I think a big differentiator in the field for us.
yeah, so out of all the ways to restore, do you think is your favorite way to restore?
So my favorite way to restore, still hands down, is the ability to send an email with an attachment directly from the console. So you don't have to download the file, remove over the file to get a file to an end user. I find most of the time that a file is missing, it's actually been misplaced, and this will put it right on the forefront of their email saying, "Here's your file. Have a nice day."
Nice. Yeah, that's really powerful.
What about you?
I would say I do love me like the Exchange restores, but even last year with Microsoft Teams, I know being able to restore those files back into Teams, it just was really a nice feature to have. Especially, we all have, sloppy fingers sometimes and accidentally delete things. So just being able to get that back up and put it in Teams and then being able to, regain access to that file can be helpful for every business. So I would say that would be my favorite, just too, because everybody always asked for Microsoft Teams backup, like everybody. I heard it so many times. So when we finally brought that, I was just like, finally, I can tell them we have it, and everybody was like super excited. So I was just like, that was one of the features I was really excited about when it was introduced.
Yeah. And then we got asked for the self-service portal, and here we are now.
Yes, exactly.
So we
It's just like,
actually do have a
sorry, go.
question on restoration from, I'm going to say this wrong, possibly, but is it Meg? I believe it's a quick question for restoration. Does Microsoft charge end customers as in their egress charges? Now, this is a two-sided conversation from the Microsoft 365 environment. Microsoft does not charge any type of egress or ingress costs for the movement of data. Now, they've recently moved over their APIs for Teams in order to be a per message per chat basis for access and export from their environment. So that'll be coming with more details later. If you do send your data to object storage, of course, there's going to be an ingress and egress cost from those object stores, depending on the type of storage you go to, unless you deploy on, say, like an IaaS instance for the Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 product in the cloud. Then you're not leaving the environment. You don't have those types of charges. And I think before we move on to the next section here, let's go ahead and give a shout out to all of the countries that we have coming into us. So, of course, me and Kirsten are here from Ohio. We have Texas, Georgia, Canada, and Arizona, as well as Ireland, the Czech Republic, Slovenia, the UK, Switzerland, Turkey, France, Italy, Spain, breathe. And then we have Brazil, Dubai, Egypt, Iran, and India. Now, I know it's not as much fun shouting out without a map to kind of go to, but we have a lot of people out there from a lot of countries, and we want to make sure we're getting representation from everywhere, including Romania that just hit us up in the chat. All right, Kirsten, I think you're going to take us through the next slide here on the new backup copy to low-cost object storage, which is another feature I'm super excited about.
Yeah, definitely. So version 6 is bringing that backup copy to low-cost object storage. So this is going to enhance your protection by bringing that backup copy capability to you. So if you're already using backup jobs that are being sent to object storage, you can further configure them to create a backup copy that can be stored in that low-cost object storage for longer-term retention. And this is going to be able to support Amazon S3 Glacier, Glacier Deep Dive, Glacier Deep Archive, and Azure Archive. So additionally, this feature is going to allow you to be able to utilize an alternative cloud provider. So you're going to be able to avoid that cloud vendor lock-in. And really, this feature is going to help you get that extra copy of your data in case something happens to that first copy. So really being able to give you that 3-2-1 rule we always talk about, making sure that you have multiple copies of your data available to you, and being able to have that redundancy, and making it really easy because it's going to be able to just, stay in object storage and then copy off into that lower cost storage for you. So if we transition into this next slide here, we're just going to really take a look at the Microsoft 365 environment when it comes to Veeam data protection operations. So you can see that we have our Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 server. And this is going to have the ability to protect Microsoft 365 organizations, on-premises organizations, and also hybrid. And this is going to include protection for Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. From there, you're going to be able to store your data, your backup data, in object storage, or if you prefer, on-premises local storage. Now, if you're going to be able to, if you decide if you want to store your data in object storage, that's where you're going to be able to use that backup copy job to have that copy of backup data into these supported long-term storages here: Amazon S3 Glacier, Glacier Deep Archive, and Microsoft Azure Archive. Now, once you've backed up your data, you're also going to be able to restore that data. So like Karinne and I talked about earlier, we have over 45 ways to restore, and that's really going to provide you with the ability to utilize those Veeam Explorers that we all know and love, and get really granular with your restores as well. So this is a general overview of kind of, what you're how you're protecting your Office 365 data. I think I just said that Microsoft 365 data, sorry. And then how you can store it, and then also how you are able to restore that data as well. So, Karinne, is there anything else that you would like to add to this slide?
There is one important thing to note for the backup copy. The backup originally does have to go to an S3 storage type in order to then be able to be backup copied to a long-term object storage. So if you're doing a local type of storage, it will have to be an S3 compatible local types of storage. Now we do have another question here from Wayne. If the product is hosted in a private DC, then egress fees will be applicable. So if by a private DC you mean outside of the Microsoft environment, you will not get any ingress or egress fees for restoration to the Microsoft 365 side. But if you're leveraging an object storage, you will be subject to the ingress and egress fees from that object storage, depending on where it's at and what access it has to the Microsoft 365 environment. Now, to kind of wrap up some here, we have the minor features that have come through. Now, these are some minor features compared to the other features we've released, but there's some big changes coming and support for a lot of requests that we've had out there, starting with the SharePoint Online renamed domains. This was a pain point that we were able to overcome. So you're able to now rename your SharePoint sites and restore across tenants even at this point with SharePoint. There will always be some sort of limitation with one environment to the next environment, but for all intensive purposes, unless there's some type of specific configuration for a site, we will be able to do cross-tenant restoration at this time. We also got a new shiny installation all-inclusive wizard. You no longer have to install separately all of your explorers. They're installed directly when you install or upgrade the Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 console, which I think is probably one of the nicest improvements. What do you think, Kirsten?
Yeah, definitely. I always love when installation becomes easier. I mean, no one wants to have to, install like 8 different things just to get the product up and running. So, yeah, I actually just upgraded my lab to Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 version 6. I would say smooth sailing so far. Everything's looking good. Loved the new installer window. I also love how when it was installing, it kind of like gave you tips and like some more information about the product and like what it could do and how it helps. So that was also a really nice add-in.
I would have to agree. The next one is for our service providers out there. We are now able to integrate the licensing through RESTful API calls, so you can aggregate your license from a centralized console. That may or may not be a hint to where we're migrating towards in the future, and hopefully integrations within the product. And then some of those backend changes are for your support cases with the logging and compression algorithm so that you can get a better longer term retention for those logs and any type of diagnostics that you need to do in your environment. So any closing thoughts that you have here for us, Kirsten?
I guess my closing thoughts are I'm excited to see what's next for Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. It's grown so much to really incorporate and be able to restore a whole bunch of different aspects of Microsoft 365. I know I use Microsoft 365 every day, so it's just interesting to see. I'm excited to see what's next for the product and where it's going to go.
I agree. Everything that we have been doing so far, especially in the last 2 years, has all been around customer request so that we're putting out the features that all of our customers have put at the forefront. Backup to object storage was the first one we developed in 2019. This year we had last year we had Microsoft Teams, which Kirsten and I both know the pain of when you're on a webinar and 90% of your questions are for XYZ and features, and then we release it. We're like, yes, we get to move on to the next thing, which was then the self-service portal was the next thing that we got asked about a lot. We actually have another question from Wayne. What can we expect in self-service reporting for tenants? So at this time, we don't have a ton of reporting around the self-service portal other than if you set up the APIs in order to get information if data has been restored for certain operators. You're able to set that up, and we can link some details to that within the chat after the webinar, or Tech Bites Friday here. And then we have a question from Mina. Is there any product in Veeam Backup family to back up PaaS environments on Azure? Actually, we do. We have Veeam Backup for Azure. One of our products that allow you to do IaaS and PaaS backups directly deployed as an application from the marketplace. You should be able to find that if you just search for Veeam from the Azure Marketplace. It'll be right there at the top. You can get a 10 instance free trial to see what you're able to back up from that PaaS side. Platform as a service for those of us that have too many acronyms in our lives.
Yeah, and also to note, you can have that as a community edition 10 instances, but also a lot of our other products have free versions available that allows you to protect up to 10 virtual machines, up to 10 users. So especially if you're just getting started with Veeam, make sure you check out those community editions. Just a side note, because I love me a good community edition. So
No, that's an excellent shout out. Pretty much our gift back to the community is our community edition. We have another question here about asking what's going to come in the next version, specific features. I will just say that I am very much embargoed, but you have some great ideas that I think that our devs are already kind of in the path for, Lee. Adding additional billing and cost per tenant is another question that came through with the aggregation and beginning of integrations into the service provider console. We will have better visibility for things such as that. We will also have a couple new reports which will allow you to get more information per tenant in your organization. So stay tuned. We don't quite have that yet. Do we have any more questions here? Doesn't seem so. So we want to go ahead and thank everyone for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to the shows that are coming next week. We're going to start off with Jason Buffington giving us some updates on cloud protection. You're going to see me live with another colleague, Jason Warner, Wednesday, live at HIMSS. And of course, we'll have Kirsten here again that way in the video. Live with Rick with some Veeam on countdown updates. Do you want to give a little brief overview of that coming?
Yeah, Veeam on is coming. I know we talked about it last week. I think last week on LinkedIn Live, it's coming. We're going back to Vegas. So if you want to have more information about Veeam on and how you can register, feel free to tune in next Friday. Also, veeamon.com. That's their first stop shop to, start registering so that we can see you in Vegas.
So I want to give a great shout out to the people running the show behind the scenes. Also, we are now live on Twitter, so you can watch us from a new location. I think we are up to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm sure someone's going to tell me in my ear if there's another that I've missed, but I think that's it. YouTube. YouTube.
I was saying, I feel like you got them all.
There's a lot. We're live everywhere. That's why we rebranded. We are now Tech Bites, or Friday Tech Bites. We want to thank you for joining us, and you have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you.